Hello Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for another Orc Mode workout, and today was max effort upper day. A lot of criticism in the comments, and I think people don't realize this is more or less what I expected for the day. The 315, I was hoping to get a little more, but it felt like a good training max. It was a little grindy, definitely felt the shoulder fatigue on the close grip. I also realized I don't like this arch and footing I've been messing with. I was stronger with the flat foot, so I'm going to go back to it for the rep work. But this will be the changes I was discussing a couple weeks back as far as training my training programming goes, taking everything to percentages, doing incline work, overhead work, all that stuff. So this was, again, a bit weaker than I had hoped for today. But I think people also have to remember, number one, still rebuilding the shoulder. You guys have seen how weak my overhead pressing is. Okay, so that absolutely explains the weak incline, which I haven't done any sort of real incline in years. That came up in the comments too. We'll discuss that in a minute. What I was doing before, people were critical of saying, hey, that's not real incline, and that was last year. It's been like 2015 since I've done an incline bench. Something like that, and I was doing them on camera. So the shoulder is rehabbed now. I've got to rebuild it. Also, I tend to lose strength on deloads. And a lot of people are like, well, that's not how it works. And it's like, I'm not going to get into any of it. It's no one's business. I don't deload for training reasons. Okay? I have a life, and I have reasons I need to deload. And that's all people need to know about my life. Okay, that's all they need to know about my life. I don't deload because it's beneficial. I deload because I need to. It has nothing to do with my training. So I actually usually get weaker on deloads. When I don't max out, I lose strength. And we know that. Anyone who's watched this knows I only on rare occasion PR coming back from a deload. There have been times where I've come back from deloads and lost 30, 40 pounds off of lifts. And then it took me a week or two to get them back. But the incline, I haven't been doing this. I haven't done the 45 degree in a long time. Even getting in my groove was hard. But it felt good. It felt good, and I know I'm going to get a lot out of this stuff. Because, again, I watch my lifters, and I look at my lifters who say they have weak triceps and stuff. My strongest guys have crazy inclines. Crazy inclines, even though I can out-close grip them, who are strong benchers. Okay? I mean, Doug's a perfect example. I mean, you guys have seen Doug's stuff. You guys have seen him bench 340. You've seen him incline 305, right? And I've put it up publicly for you guys. One of the very few people I put up publicly. Most of my clients, we don't. At least on the public stuff. They go on the private Facebook. A lot of people and coaches and lifters can see them there. But Doug can't incline 315. Or, I mean, he can't close grip 315. So perspective. And I'm going to do all these different grips, right? I've already kind of did my video, and I hope that was a good segue, talking about those 5 bench press grips. Well, I need to, over time, get strong at everything. What have I told you guys? I need to be strong at everything. Different grips, different stances. I need to be strong at sumo, conventional, close grip, wide grip, incline, overhead press. We need to get strong at everything. So I'm going to have to build it all. And I've got a good plan in place for all of it. My shoulder, again, is recovered. I have good function of it. Range of motion is greatly improved again. And I've got to continue to do mobility work and stuff for it. And I don't want to get into what I do for it because it's very specific to me. It's not going to be helpful to you. A lot of it is stuff I figured out is that I have really, really, really tight long heads in my triceps. That doesn't help my shoulders at all. And we know for people who are asking, hey, how'd you get hurt? Well, ring pull-ups. We've covered this dozens of times. Okay, but you guys also know that you've seen me strict press 225. You've seen me do like sets of 15 with 135 on a standing press. Okay, so overhead press strength will come back. I'm going to have a very, very heavy focus on shoulders, though. People will notice that there's going to be high pulls. It's going to be overhead pressing, it'll be incline. And then on my off days, one of my restoration things I do is band pull apart. It's going to be one of the few restoration things I do. I don't feel like I need the tricep stuff anymore. I just need to hit heavy pressing and JM presses and stuff in my training. That seems to give me the best tricep strength. It seems to give me the best tricep strength. But you guys will notice here, I went ahead and I did 275. Yes, that is slightly off for my calculations because I know I'm weaker with that footing. And the fact that I came in and did 275 with these sets and reps tells me that that was not a true max using this same footing. Okay, so we'll need to test that close grip again coming up pretty soon. But it's just a baseline to work off percentages, because we need to have percentages for everything now. And we're going to do all the lifts. Mainly, I'm going to primarily do lifts I max on for all my supplemental work. We're just going to do everything with assistance movements. The only exception might be like the glute ham raise, the reverse hyper, and then my conditioning work and stuff, my GPP. You can't really max on GPP. You can't max on a sled drag or a farmer's walk. So, again, shoulder is good. I have to keep up the work I'm doing for it, keep those rear delts strong, and we just got to train everything, get it all back, and the incline will come up quick. Okay, incline will come up quick. I'm not worried about it. So with this, we went with, again, 85%, and all the numbers are down below. People will always ask, how much weight is that? Well, if you can't count, look at the description box below. I always put the info down below. If you want to know exactly what I did in every routine, it's written. I type it all out for you. It's right there. You should check it out. But we did 4 triples with that. And my goal usually with any of these, of any of the percentages that I run off of, if I can get 5 sets, we're ready to PR again. Okay? So 4 sets is perfectly reasonable. Now in this case, with the close grip, I could probably PR next week on that close grip over that. Right? Because that was higher than 85% for that work I did. With these, I went with the 85%. Well, as close as I could with the fractional plate, so I went like 1 pound over. So it's like 192.5. Because we're counting that 225, that's the one I got. So that's what I'm counting for the percentages. And the goal, if all this is programmed correctly, then we'll always be able to PR from that, even if we sandbagged it, based upon the supplemental work. And this is what I'm doing with all of this. It's all going to be percentages, and it's all going to be looking at total effective reps. People will say, well, this doesn't seem like enough volume for this or that. And it's like, well, your opinion doesn't matter. We've got pretty good hard data on this. There's a lot of data on total volumes, how they work with percentages of maxes, a lot of info on effective reps. We got Prelipin's chart, all this stuff. Everything that I am doing for the supplemental work in terms of the workloads is backed by the literature, and it's backed by the elite coaching world and the experience of world-class level coaches. So other people's opinions on that is really largely irrelevant, isn't it? Supported by the data, the literature, and the real-world evidence. Like, what more do we want? Yeah, everything's going to be heavy. And we come down to, look at when I hit the best PRs. Look at when I hit that best bench. What did I do? I did a phase of heavy 5s right before, just before the shoulder issue. And I walk in and hit that 352 close grip. Okay. You know what all we need to do. Everything's going to be heavy. I've done all my really, really, really high volume, high rep stuff. Now we're going to maximize volume with heavy weights. And I'm going to approach it all very carefully, very mathematically. And I'm going to end up codifying this into a system, I think. Okay, something I can put in an ebook later. Because a lot of people want me to write ebooks. I have clients who want me to write ebooks. Definitely have fans who want me to write ebooks. So we will. Now these I don't have a max to work with. Okay, I don't have a max to work with. I'll get one here soon. But I went with a weight that felt like it should be challenging. 135 for triples was hard. This was actually hard, especially off those dead pins. Now, people will say, but that's just a really high incline. Well, this is a standard seated press. Okay, you can't do a seated overhead press that's the same bar path as a standing press. Okay, and I think people forget that. You can't. You have to have a slight angle. You can't have a perfectly 90-degree bench and do a barbell. The bar will go through your skull. Okay? Still an overhead press. Still working my shoulders. Still working my upper chest. Still working my triceps. And it works the triceps different. Still works more the shoulder girdle, traps, everything else. This will be very effective. So why are we doing it this way? And I've said that before, that there is something to the idea for a lot of old school guys used to do flat, incline, and overhead, a third of each of all their pressing for their volume work. Louis Simmons just said that a couple weeks ago when he was discussing maxing on 2 lifts a day. And it's something I've thought of before and realized is the case. He brought it up, and I'm like, you know what? Not a bad idea. Especially for someone like me who has certain shoulder deficiencies and things like that. All right? Not a bad idea. Getting really strong at multiple angles of pressing is never going to make you weaker. Probably be more balanced. Hit more parts of the chest, more parts of the tricep, more parts of the shoulder girdle. So you just get strong. You need to get strong. Then I did really heavy JM presses. Why? Because I feel JM presses in that medial head of my tricep. No matter what you think of my form, I feel it there. So I'm like, let's go ahead and go heavy. Let's just get the triceps really, really strong. So I did 185. Triples were all I could handle with 185. And again, for those who don't understand the J-arm press, I'm sorry about the angle. It's really hard for me to get the side angle on this rack because the rack's bolted down. Okay, using this camera. So you just got to live with it. But technically that bar is over my throat. So for people who are like, it looks like a partial bench. No, it's not a bench. You don't bench press to your throat. You bench press to your low chest. So it's a combination between a skull crusher and a close grip bench. It's what the JM press is. And it's obviously a very tricep dominant movement. Very popular in powerlifting and strength circles. So we'll use this to build my triceps, and we can do variations of it. I'll need to max on it eventually. Although I can estimate my max. These were hard enough with triples, doing a 3x3, that I pretty much could tell you what my max is based off this. Okay, my max is probably about 205, 210. That would be a 1 rep max. But I'll probably want to test it coming up. Okay, we'll test it coming up. But run all the numbers, guys. Look at the effective reps, the percentages I'm running, the fact that every rep is an effective rep. Every one of these have a training response. Every single rep that I did hit the upper threshold motor units. And we did multiple different exercises, different angles. We're inside of our growth window. We're inside of our hypertrophy window on all of this. We're also going to build a lot of strength. Going to build intramuscular coordination. Right? Then snatch, grip, high pulse. And I had to put some thought into all this. I was going to do rows, but I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to do chins again, I've figured out, I found the range of motion and angles. I can do chins pain-free, easy on my shoulders. That's going to handle my lats and a lot of my bicep and everything else. Why am I going to row? I'm rowing for more upper back, more lat, but don't I get that with all this? And these build your shoulders big time. If I know I need to build my shoulders up and increase my overhead pressing, and there's going to be a synergy between the chin and the overhead press. I've always said that for many years. There's a synergy between those two things. My best overhead presses, even when I wasn't doing real volume for hypertrophy, always tended to correspond to my best weighted chin-ups. Okay. But I took this up to a 1 rep max, and it looked really sloppy on the final one. Got to 300, and then used my percentages of that. Okay, so came up here, the 300 getting almost questionable at this point. But I'm going to count it, and we'll build off of that. And then because I had done all this other work and I had just hit a max on it and ramped up, I'm getting the same training effect we would get from a 3x3 at the correct percentages. So we just did a 2x3 afterwards. We're inside of where we want to be on the chart. We're inside of where we want to be. Okay, because look at the ramp up and then look at the percentages relative to this, right? That ramp up counted as a full set. So I'm okay there. And these were hard after doing the max. Then we went over to chins, and I'll discuss the chin-ups here since these are pretty well done. Some people are going to say, well, we don't like your range of motion. And that is exactly why I got hurt. Me listening to people telling me, oh, you have to get that full stretch dead hang at the bottom on a chin. I listen to so-called experts. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to start a fight. You guys know who it was who remembered when I started doing the dead hang once. Okay, that contributed. That was an issue for me. I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about getting the most out of the exercise. Why am I doing chins? To improve my back, biceps, grip. Okay, which will in turn help my deadlift tremendously again, because my lats atrophied a bit. They got weaker. Get them back up strong. All my back will get strong again. My deadlift will come back up. These work my grip tremendously well. Between this and the loaded carries, I'm pretty well covered there. Did 3 sets where I got triples and I only got 2 reps on the 4th set. So I'm right about where I need to be in terms of weight. I could calculate my 1 rep max off this. We need to test it though. And yes, I'm doing the very close grip, and I'm going to do different grips. The close grip seems to be really easy on my shoulders. Yes, I do struggle with getting high enough up on it because everything kind of gets in the way. But I get the tension in my biceps, my lats, everything else. And that's what matters. It's a case of, again, getting the most out of the exercise, not letting the exercise get the most out of you. And doing an exercise like this, where if you're not careful with the dead hang, particularly if you have certain mobility or range of motion issues, which for me, some of it's structural, my bone structure, you're not going to be able to change it. You know, getting silly with the range of motion, we're asking for injury. You know, what's the whole point of doing this for tension? I'm not doing it as a competitive lift right now. I understand it's a contested lift, and I know there's records and everything, and there's a certain range of motion you have to achieve. I can build on that later, but I'm going to do the different grips. The close grip feels really good, and I'll bring it out slowly and test that at different things, and I'll max on all of it and do rep work on it. Same thing on the high pulls. We're doing snatch grip now. I'll rotate in for variation, different grips. Then I did the strict curl. Did it with the close grip also. Why? Strict curl is a contested lift. And if I need my chin-ups to get stronger, and I know biceps can be a weak link for me in chins, shouldn't this carry over? Yep. So I have a competition lift that carries over to a very important supplemental lift for me. Why not? And this is, again, I'm doing the strict press as it would, as far as my understanding of the rules would count. Glutes and head stay against the upright. My feet are a certain distance from it. We do the full range of motion. So it's as close as I can get for now. And I'll do the same thing. I'll establish a max on this coming up. I'll also do the wider grip. I'll do a shoulder whip grip also and establish numbers on that so that we train different grips. We break up everything so that we don't get overuse. And we need to get strong with this. And yes, it's only 80 pounds, but 80 pounds for sets of 5 is actually not terrible, considering I'm doing it as a true strict curl. Because considering I think the world record for like my class would be like 180 pounds. I'm definitely a long ways off from that, but it's not terrible. But we have room to grow. These weren't a failure because I don't know what my max is. They were challenging. And that's what we want. We're going to make it all flow together now. Everything's going to flow. Those lifts are going to go up. I know some people are disappointed in the list for today. They will climb really, really fast. Trust me on this. You've seen me do it before. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.